Tonight will be prophetic. Tonight will be stirring. Tonight we prepare the grounds for what is going to be happening this weekend. But tomorrow we go in depth. And that's why you got to come early tomorrow. Because, for example, look at what is happening in Nigeria. It's amazing. The move of God where prayer is concerned is amazing. But can I be real? As great as that move is, if it's not sustained with good doctrine, it can last. A lot of people, and it's the plan and purpose of God that people will be fired up in the place of prayer. And the Lord told me, for years the Lord will stir me up and he said, there's a need for a restoration of the supernatural in your nation of Bat. In fact, there will be times I'll go to Nigeria, people will think I was fighting with some people. Because there was a time Nigeria literally shifted to motivation and leadership. Come on, talk to me. Don't look at me like that. You felt like, this supernatural thing is too much. Let's go to leadership. Now, listen, the principles of God will never replace the presence and power of God. There are several aspects to God. There are principal parts of God. But when you now begin to focus on that principle so much that you forget about his essence. And it gets so bad that people will even cite examples of unsaved people who are using the principles to excel. For as long as they have results, it's good. But the Bible already says, be ye followers of them that through faith. Can I preach freely tonight? Through what? Faith and patience. Not just following principles. You can stumble on the principles of God and get results. But that does not mean you are followers of them through what? Faith and what? Patience. Obtain the promise. So there were years, those times I was agitated in my spirit because I knew this ought not to be. Christianity cannot be reduced to just laws, principles, and what again? Strategies. God is too deep to be boxed into those things. The doctrine of Christ is beyond principles. The doctrine of Christ is based on the finished work of redemption. And if that is not the emphasis, there is a problem. Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, he said, when I was in your midst, I determined not to know anything except for Christ crucified. That was the only thing I was interested. So I was concerned because a generation was beginning to to spring up that had no regard for things of the spirit. And that's what happens when principles are the things you focus on more than the essence and the presence. You will bat a generation that just want to use God rather than know God. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Just use God. They just want to come to church and write points to apply. But God is more than points to be applied. He really is someone to be encountered. Paul said that I may know him. We're supposed to come to the knowledge of him. Not just the knowledge of his principles. Principles have their place. But principles will never replace the essence and the presence of God. So I was concerned. And God used the pandemic to wash Nigeria. There was thorough washing. Everybody became prayer. If you can backtrack a little bit and see the way the church reacted at the beginning of the pandemic, it exposed people. We saw pastors that were afraid. CDC officials everywhere. Cover your nose. In fact, that was what brought myself and Jerry together. We were having monthly meetings then. I said, what is all this rubbish? I said, I'm a pharmacist by training. All these overnight health officials. Listen, let the CDC officials teach us the covering of nose. But you, as a minister of the gospel, you ought to teach us the word. There was fear in the atmosphere already. Am I right? Tell people, fear not. And as a minister of the gospel, if all you are doing is cover your nose, oh, this thing is real. Oh my God. You can literally sense fear in the words of your pastors. And go and do your research. Most of the pastors, that was their presentation, lost people. The ones that were courageous and stood boldly and said no to fear, they were the ones that had less or no casualty. To the glory of God as a ministry, we have thousands of members all over the world. We did not lose a single member to COVID. There were close calls. But guess what? No casualty. Can we celebrate God for that? Because more than ever, we doubled up the word. I don't know if you know, we doubled up the word. I will come up in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. Pump it everywhere like a madman. You can't die like a chicken. Broke bread as many times. Psalm 91, we taught it. Thank God the Psalm 91 of these days is on tablets. Not if we were using paper Bible like Psalm 91 would have taught. There's some people's Bible those days when you get to certain pages, it's like the page is about to escape, rapture, by the virtue of divorce. We divorce Psalm 91 with long life. Didn't he keep us? And he's still keeping us. I say he's still keeping us. I say he's still keeping us. There be some people who was concerned for me, say, Tony, I said, tone what down? To tone the word down is to turn up faith. Is it not interesting that the same pandemic that silenced certain voices was the same for pandemic that released new voices? There was an explosion of the ministry of prayer. And Nigeria became, literally, officially, Nigeria became the leader of the move of God in the world during pandemic. It's no longer, maybe not. It has moved around. I remember when it was in Argentina, when it was in Nigeria now. That's the headquarters. I'm not saying that because I'm a Nigerian. I'm saying it because this is true. I'm not even what I'm talking about. Became it just boom. And I'm saying this with all the strong move of prayer going on in the nation. I want to sense a word of caution. As powerful as this move is, its sustainability is in the establishment of the doctrine of Christ. Because what we call prayer is only prayer if it's according to the word. He said, this is the confidence that we have, that whatsoever we ask according to what? His will, he hears us. And his word is where we find his will. So if what we do is pray, we end up doing witchcraft in the name of prayer. Because what makes prayer is the revelation of the word. In fact, for me, when I really want to pray, I first of all meditate. I'm not if you know what I'm talking about. There's a way you spend time in the word, and from the place of the word, you burst out into prayer. Then after a while, you change gear into groanings that cannot be uttered. There's a prayer of speaking words, but there's a prayer of speaking spirits. Come on. I hope I'm not getting too deep for somebody. That's when it talks about, when we talk about spend time in prayer, it's not like the first time you speak or the first few seconds or the first few minutes, God does not hear you. It is a mekwo sotaba. It is to come to a realization that you are still a spirit that has a soul. So when you start praying, the first few minutes, there's still the contamination of the soul you got to deal with. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. The distraction, the complexities of the soul that you still have to navigate through. But if you stay long, especially when you are praying in the spirit, you get to a point that you shake off the soul completely. I don't know if you have ever prayed to a point that you notice it was like the language with which you are praying changed. Has it ever happened to you before? And then it got to a point, you started hearing sounds that you could not even explain. I call that spitting spirits. The Bible talks about groanings which cannot be what? Uttered. I mean, you have literally come to a place of full alignment. You have literally shaken off all the distractions and the contaminations and the complexities of the souls which we all have to contend with in this world. You come into a realm whereby you sink in. And when you come to that place, one of the things you notice is that you begin to download. Am I talking to somebody tonight? That is the realm and the dimension where the secrets of God, they become accessible to you. Because all the things that are like distracting you from pulling from that realm of God, which is your realm, remember, a new creation is already one with God. But by the virtue of the fact that a new creation still has a soul to contend with. But there's a shaking off of the contaminations that comes as a result of the soul which he possesses. He shakes it off in that place of prayer. And reaches a place that the realm of God becomes clear. And you come to a place, it's like the books are opened. And you can literally see, it's like you are wearing lenses. And you can read the will. Am I talking to somebody tonight? You can read the will of God. It's so clear. It begins to feel like God is literally in front of you, by your side. And the things which are communicated when you get to that place are so real to you that there's nobody that can shake it away from you. The reason why a lot of people have not walked in the depth of the call of God upon their lives is they don't invest enough in spiritual activities to get to that place where the will of God literally becomes unveiled and unpacked to them, and it's so clear. It's not like all this while God has been trying to hide it from them. It's because of the engagements of their soul. He's made it possible for them to assess what is theirs already. So it's not like it's God trying to hide himself from you, and now you are making effort so much to get his attention. But really, it's more of you shaking off all the superfluity and naughtiness of the soul so that you can embrace the will of God. Koinonia, fellowship. And listen, I came to Calgary this weekend to tell somebody a generation is arising. And it's a generation that is so clear about what God is saying. And the Lord spoke to me. He said the same way someone like Pastor Dr. will come to the pulpit and say, God spoke to me that I'm supposed to be a pastor, an apostle, a prophet, a teacher, an evangelist. Thus said the Lord, he said, in this generation, I'm going to be raising men from amongst you, that the same way a ministry gift will be so clear about the gift and calling of God upon his life and his assignment to his own generation. There will be people amongst you that will be clear about the assignment in the different spaces and spheres and fields and mountains and influences of this world. They will come to know by revelation that this is a call of God upon my life. The same way pastor will move to a city because he's been sent by God to plant a church. People will move to region. They will move to prophets because they have come to know by revelation that God has called them to take a mountain. God has called them to take up a space. Get on your feet tonight. I feel something in the air. There's a rise rising of a generation, a people with clarity, a people that the will of God is no longer strange to, but a people that know what God is saying to them, a people that are not clouded by the carnal things of this world, but a people that can read expressly. This is the will of God. And the Lord spoke to me, by the time prosperity begins to come to that generation, they will not be shaken, because before prosperity came, purpose was established. Oh, you didn't hear me. The reason why a lot of people get shaken away by prosperity is because they were never established in purpose. But once purpose is established, prosperity only comes to fulfill the purpose. Because, by the way, what you call the prosperity is a provision for the purpose. The word provision is from true word provision for vision. The reason why it came is because oh my God, somebody listening to me. There is a job to be done. There is a mandate to be fulfilled. There is an assignment to be undertaken. Oh, these are just tools to do it. They will not get carried away with finances. They will not get carried away with promotion. They will not get carried away with bonuses. They will not get carried away with new contracts, because thus said the Lord, they know they have been called for such a time. Oh, come on, am I speaking to somebody? For such a time as this. And I heard the Lord say, this generation will walk into the boardrooms of this world, and you'll be wondering, are they prophets? When was it ordained? Because right there in the boardroom of this world, the manifestations of the gifts of the Spirit will be at work. The same way pastor will walk into his platform, and we know by the Lord. Thus said the Lord. He will know by word of knowledge. Thus said the Lord. This generation we manifest word of knowledge and word of wisdom in boardroom. The same way someone like me, my apostolic capacity, we get on the plane without having to fast, without having to pray extra. I will feel an extra layer of the Holy Ghost, because I'm just in my zone. I'm fulfilling the purpose of God for my life. That same generation, that same set of people, you might see them on Sunday morning, cool, calm, and collected, but on Monday morning, when they put on their show, they are going to war. Oh my, am I preaching well tonight? They will feel an extra layer of the Holy Ghost. Oh, Master, is somebody listening to me? They will feel Master Taba. Yeah. Without even praying extra, they will feel anointed on on Monday morning. The same way the pastor will feel anointed on Sunday morning. The same way an evangelist will feel anointed on Friday evening. They will feel anointed on what? Monday morning. Because they know they are sent of God to that workplace. Who am I talking to? It's part of that generation. The generation that is not just here to make more money. Generation that is not just interested in having enough money to send their kids to the best schools. Is it good to send your kids to the best school? Yes. But if that's what you are living for. I'm looking for the right word to qualify your state. I will have to go to my mother's hometown and borrow a word. You want to know the word? A shoe. If you don't know, just count it as speaking tongues. But let me translate it for you. I pity you. Gone are the days that our main testimonies will be. I want to thank the Lord for the new house I just bought. I just moved to the best neighborhood in Calgary. My kids are in the best school. I just want to appreciate the Lord for that. Now, should you not appreciate God for those things? Of course you should. But if that's all you appreciate God for all the time, it's you. You are like an Esther. Can I speak prophetically tonight? I'm not even touching my note. This is not fair. Spend 2 hours to prepare this message. But it's looking like I will not preach it. Because apparently God has a different word for somebody tonight. You are like an Esther who find herself in the palace. Remember, she didn't get to the palace because she was the smartest. She didn't get to the palace because she was the most beautiful. She didn't get to the palace because she was the most connected. She didn't get to the palace because she was the most qualified. But grace found her. Do you know the amazing thing about grace? Grace loves underdogs. Because when grace helps underdogs, they are quick to point to God. But if you already have a degree, you want to prove to us it was your degree that got you to position. So grace loves to work with people without degree, without pedigree, without status, without profile, without background, without connection. And I heard the Lord saying, grace is about to help you in an unusual way. I speak as a prophet of God. You will find yourself in positions and places. You will find yourself in companies and you'll be wondering, what am I doing here? I'm not even supposed to be on the list. I'm like the David that when the prophet showed up, even his father that loved him felt like there's no point calling him off the field. Oh, he's the youngest. Let him just run around with what? The sheep. But God says, that youngest that you think is not qualified is the one I'm interested in. Because grace loves to qualify the unqualified. Let me say this before you have your seat. God told me, he said, don't be that Esther that after grace has found her and placed her in the palace, that she has no business being. She will now want to come into a self-preservation mode. If not for Mordecai, who called it to her attention, auntie, if you keep quiet, you will miss God's purpose. Because apparently you are in this palace because God needs a voice. Can I preach tonight? Could it be the reason why God gave you that job was not because of your fasting, your prayer, but because God knew ahead of time that he would need a voice in that company, in that space. He knew there would be so much darkness, so he will need a light to represent him. And that was why he set you up and gave you a job you don't qualify for. And here you are. You want to keep quiet. You will need a Mordecai in your life to come to your aid and say, uncle, auntie. So all of a sudden you want to protect yourself. Who protected you up to this point? So you were so smart. It was your strategy that was so good that you were able to hide your identity as a Jew all this while. Could it be that God allowed you to be in this space because he will need a voice now? Sit. Somebody listening to me tonight. A generation that understands the depth of God's purpose. A generation that will not be carried away by prosperity because they understand the purpose. In the first place, the reason why God changed you from no level to this level was because he was looking for someone through whom he can finance all manner of projects. And now you want to sit on what is supposed to be God's money. And God was just looking for somebody who will open an account for him. So all of a sudden, God's account has now become what? Your account. My money, my hard hand money. You know what I'm talking about? Before you open that your small, big mouth to say you work for it, think, did you really work for it? Or was it grace? It would be dangerous for you to claim you work for what was given to you. It's like a pipe that is laid to move water from one source to a particular destination. And all of a sudden, that pipe begins to fill itself. I deserve. to be wet. Should I say it again? I deserve to be what? I've been laid long enough not to be wet. The only reason, can I be real? The only reason why you are wet is because you are carrying water to that destination. The day you start leaking, and you can no longer effectively move water from the source to what? The destination. God bless you. You will be what? They will send a plumber. They will cut you. And as I'm talking now, some of you can think about certain people you know who have been caught. People that God placed by grace. But rather than recognize the purpose of God, they made it about themselves. They turned it into a selfish thing. And God says, okay, I love you. You know I love you. I really love you. But there's something that is important to me. It's my purpose. And that you are not doing. So in that law for you, I will still have to cut you. And replace you with something that will bear fruit. Remember, I'm the vine, you are the branch. And the branch that does not bear fruit. Oh, the Bible talks about the fruits of righteousness. And it talks about God giving you grace that you might increase in what? In fruits of righteousness. When it's still young, but you are not bearing fruits of righteousness, he himself will be the one to cut you and find for himself a branch that can bear fruit. So this takeover I'm talking about, because this whole weekend is about takeover. Somebody shout takeover. This takeover, I want to establish it right now. This takeover is not for selfish agenda. Lord, I'm taking over. And as you are thinking takeover, I'm moving to a bigger suburb, a bigger house. Oh my, that Range Rover, that Tesla. What again? What else do you want? Please confess. What else do you want? Say it. I've helped you to say it, or I've said it all. And by the way, I'm not against Range Rover. I have one. I'm not against Tesla. I also have one. Please still listen to the message. Because after those two things, some people say, like, wow, he has it. He's living my dream. Can I be real to you? They are just vehicles. In fact, the other day I was driving the Range Rover and it felt like this is a body. I'm serious. I know somebody is saying, please give me that body. I will carry it. It will not be heavy for me. But I'm serious. That day, I'm serious. I'm being real to you. It just felt like I could not wait to get home and just get it, because it just felt like this thing is big. Am I going for war? Why is something this big? It's just me. Especially now that I can't even call them kids again. They are the one checking on us now. Hello, how you doing? Just checking on you. At times they're like, you checking on me. Roles have been what? Reversed. I mean, we had Thanksgiving in America, like, was it 2 weeks ago? I mean, wow, we're looking forward to having my son. He's been gone, since August. So he just calls and I can only be around for 1.5 days. I'm like, what? So I have a job. A job? What job? He said, they only give me, Thursday off, and so I have to be back on Friday. I like the way I felt like, quit the job, my friends. Come home. That Friday morning when he woke up and said, Dad, I'm out. That thing was tough. Like, just 1.5 days. Can't you just call off? Of course, you are not sick, but call off. I'm not saying you since August. This is November. I gotta go. Dad, I have a job. I'm like, job? You. I still remember the day we brought you from hospital. Now you have a job. And the next thing is like, oh, Christmas, I'm not sure I can come early. So things have changed. So they are checking. I mean, this last trip to Nigeria, he called me more than in fact, maybe he called me five times, and I called him like twice. Hello, are you just checking on you? I'm busy. I'm in the studio. Just okay, busy man. You have a job, you have a life, you have a room. Imagine there's not in my house. It's a mystery. Let me tell you something. That's why, parents, you must find yourself in the purpose of God. Let me sound a warning to every parent who's building their lives around their children. You will be disappointed. If you want your children to forever respect you, live your purpose. Don't buy any house because of them. Come and borrow advice from us. I remember the first time my kids left home, I told my wife, I said, can we check into the hotel? Because that house lost purpose. And like, two of us, we now go back to this house. What was wrong with us? Why did we buy this? So don't live for children. Don't live for things. There's a bigger reason to live. There is a purpose of God. So the takeover we're talking about is built around God's purpose for your life. Write it down. God's purpose for my life is the mandate of heaven. The same thing God had in mind when he said in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, let them have dominion. Let them have dominion. It's not just about let them have cars and private jets and fly all over the world and fly first class. Listen to me. You will do all that. But those things will not define you. Are you listening to me? I mean, there were days I used to believe God for first class. I don't believe God for it again. I just fly it. And if I need to fly private jet, I will fly it. If you have a problem with it, it's your problem. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's just a means of what? Transportation. If a job needs to be done, and God knows the best way to get it done is through private jet, why not private jet? When Jesus needed a donkey that's not been ridden before, didn't he get one? I don't care. Put any comment on Instagram. In fact, I will block you. I will delete you. I will remove you. And I will cast you out. You know, social media has now given expression to everybody, including fools. People without voice. Have you noticed some people? They turn comment section of other people's posting to their own post. What they have been trying to say that nobody was interested in listening to, they would not go and post it. At times, there's no relevance between their comments and the original post. They're just a people looking for somebody to what? To hear them. I mean, you know, there are times I just got my especially on live program. We're talking something very serious and somebody start putting. If I see happened 2 days ago, I say, Auntie, I mentioned her name. I said, please stop that. You don't know what we're saying. You just joined this. Listen. And I schooled her. And by the time I schooled, I said, yes, I can understand what you are saying. I said, thank you for your repentance. Now, can we continue? I just had to arrest her. Stop that. Because some people, they just love to just jump into a conversation that they know nothing about and say they are nonsense. So, a private jet is nothing to God if it's needed to fulfill your takeover mandate. And if God will need you to have a private jet to fulfill your mandate, and you think because of your humility or humiliation, or whatever you call it, you don't need one, then you are a disgrace. And if you get a private jet just to make a statement, we are doing well, and it's not needed for your assignment, it's simply a waste of God's resources, you're a what? You're a disgrace too. We should come to a place that nothing but the purpose of God matters. It's not about my ego. It's not about how people perceive me. It's not about how many likes I get on social media. You know, there's a new disease now. It's called social media addiction. There's some people, they have to check their social media every 5 minutes. There are people now, they are keeping grudges just because some people did not like their posts. Some pastors have fought me before because they claimed I was not what? Like, he said they like my post and I don't like their post. I'm like, Say, I'm angry with you. I'm like, what did I do? I noticed you don't like my post. Grown man, 50-year-old. What are you doing? Monitoring? In fact, recently when people started talking about, I'm not talking to that person again. I said, what's great? He said, he unfollow me. I said, so how do you notice people that follow you and people that have stopped following you? Because I don't know. Are you that jobless? So job has finished. The assignment that God has for you is fully completed. That now what you are monitoring is your followers and your unfollowers. Oh, did you get it? Your followers and your what? Unfollowers. Don't you never say take over? Take over. You know, recently God spoke to me and he shocked me. Around the time I turned 50, the Lord began to draw my attention to creative space. He said, I need you in that space. And that was strange. Me? What am I creating? I don't consider myself a creative, although technically everybody is a creative because we came out of what? A creator. A creator cannot make a non-creative. So we are all creative technically. But from the definition of what people call creative, I don't know what I'm creating. But God says, be in that space. Be an apostolic voice there. Be a voice for me. Love people there. Care for people there. Carry people there. Cover people there. Who is who in that space? This week alone, I've spoken to them. Just because it's my assignment in this season. If I talk to them more than I talk to pastors now. Because apparently they need it more. Because a lot of creatives are uncovered. A lot of creatives I'm talking about church creatives now, are hurting. And can I be real? Pastors are responsible a lot of times. Because pastors have reputations of using creatives to develop their church choir, church drama group, church whatever. They don't even care about the destiny that God has for them. And the moment a small boy is coming up, a small girl is coming up, who seems to be better, they retrench him or retrench her. And is it not true? It has happened. So you see a lot of creatives in different spaces hurting. And the Lord told me, he said, reach out to them, love them. For example, you see pastors complaining about, musicians. Yeah, some of them, all they do is love money. What about pastors that you are abusive? I remember there was a time I brought a musician to Chicago, and flew out to Chicago, took care of her. And this pastor in the city with a big church called me, said, Pastor, can we have her around? Because we're having a major program. And I joyfully said, why not? So I spoke to the artist. I said, please, can you be a blessing to my friend? And he said, why not? The protocol of the church even took her there. She ministered. Big meeting. At least there were 500 people there. Until I asked her, I hope they treated you well. They tried. $200. I was ashamed. So to the glory of God, I have a management. I have a management company now that protects creatives. Tell them, say, don't even talk to pastor. Let them talk to me. It's my company. So we have a form. We send it to them. Okay. They want to be a blessing in your church. We are not charging you. But do you have any plan for them? Where are you going to put them? Is it in your elder's house? Or deacon's house? What are you going to feed them? Is it rice and gari or? It sounds funny. I've been fed with rice and gari before. Church of God Mission, Jokodo Ibadan. I will never forget. That was my honorarium. 1996. And I received it gladly. It took me years to realize. They mix it, rice, and they put gari on it. And the pastor sat next to me and said, Eje, I'm serious. All night service. That was my honorarium. I'm sure you remember that church. Maybe you even followed me to that meeting. You were there. And I did not complain. It took me years to realize I was abused. Then we just wanted to preach. He didn't even realize the kind of abuse. In America, when we came to, I've lived in America for a while now, 23 years. When people started saying I was abused, you two sat there and said, was I abused? I was abused. And I remembered one of those abuse. Not if you agree with me, that was an abuse. A whole man of God with all the oil of God. Rice and what? Curry mixed together. And the pastor sat next to me and he was commanding me. My mother has never What a combination. Not rice and beans. Rice and what? Curry. You are not a prisoner. So I'm serious. So there's a form now. We send it to pastors. Okay, you want them to come and bless you. Okay, what's your plan? How will they get there? Because we have had cases of pastors that only bought one-way ticket. And after the ministration, it's like, with the grace of our Lord Jesus. I remember Nathan Ibase was sharing his story. He went to minister in Ivory Coast. Flew, took his team, only to realize the ticket they bought for them was only one way. And they had no money on them. He had to be calling Nigeria, begging people to help them buy tickets so that they will not be stranded in Abidjan. It's okay. Fill the form. What's your plan? And one of the lines of the form is, do you have any plans to honor them? What's the idea? Because there are some honorarium that are more of is arium. Because honorarium minus honor is what? Is arium. Because when you look at it, this corners, it does not qualify for what? To become what? There is no honor in this honorarium. It's arium. So he said, okay, oh yeah, we want to bless them. How? We're not charging, but give us an idea. And guess what? I'm the owner of the company to the glory of God. And it's meant to protect them. Because that's one of my assignments in this season. Because I said, well, we can go to the extreme of, they are charging. What about the extreme of being abusive too? Churches, abusive pastors, abusive ministers of God. Can you get on your feet? Have you been blessed tonight? Stand up. Don't worry. We have tomorrow. Tomorrow is for doctrine. But today is to charge you up. It's a takeover season. Someone say takeover. Somebody shout takeover. If anybody had told me this time last year that I'll be doing stuff like this now, I'll be saying, no. It's none of my business. I'm a preacher of the gospel. But I'm in a season of my life that I just want to do anything he wants me to do. So he says, if I need you in this marketplace to put order. One of the things you do as an apostle is establish order. And one of the things the Lord told me, he said, I've called you into this space for the healing of the people in this space. Because I need them in my end time move. Creatives have very significant roles to play. We need them. Can you imagine this church? There's no technical department. There's no media department. Nobody is. We just go back to the old days of fellowship. In the morning, early in the morning, in the morning. Next song. Good morning, Jesus. Good morning, Lord. I know. In fact, what I'm doing is creative. But thank God we can, worship God with good sound, with good ambience. God does not care. He cares. Have you seen heaven of late? Oh my God, should I preach that? Have you seen heaven of late? Did he look in chaos? When the earth was without form and void, did he just say, let it roll, let it roll? He put order. So I remember in the 70s, we didn't need those instruments. We are not in the 70s again. We're living in a generation that if your church is still using projector, all the Gen Z in your church will be like, oh, glory to God. What's going on here? But there was a time, those projectors are breakthrough. Our church wants to do a projector project. If you want to sow it to it. But things have changed. Look at this. Don't you like this? Don't you like this sound? God has called us to excellence. And it's not just the preacher that makes a great service. It's the combination. That which every joint supplies. And the Lord told me, he said, it's high time every part of the body is honored, including them. And he says, like as an apostolic voice, address it. Cover them. Protect them. Don't exploit them. Love them. Care for them. And I'm enjoying it. And some people are wondering. In fact, as far as some people are concerned, I'm disrupting their industry. Because there's all manner of exploitation going on in our industry. Label, just using people anyhow. One of my daughters, when she told me the contract she was given to sign last year, thank God it was the Holy Ghost that saved her. The label company made sure it was those fine prints that you will need lenses. 15 years. And it's a popular label company. And the way they did it, they brought the contract while she was busy recording in the studio. And she would just say, okay. Just before you do the next song, can you sign this? She just felt like, please give me some time. Can you send it to me as PDF? That was what saved her. Christian Label Company. That's some of the things we are dealing with in that space. Because God told me, he said, there's a lot of hurts. And people need to be healed for the body to be whole. So you can complain they are charging. Say, do you know the reason why the people that are charging are charging? Because some of them have been abused, the same way I was abused. There are preachers today, before you invite them to anywhere, they will send form to you. Fill it. Although I don't send form. Maybe I should start sending form so that I will not partake of such concussion again. Although thank God where I am today. If you put me where my body, my spirit align, but my body does not align, I will put myself. I said, don't worry. I will rebook. I've done it before. Beautiful country. And I saw this is wickedness. How can the country be this beautiful? And with all this beauty, this is the place you think my spirit, my soul, and my body deserves. So when the pastor and his wife came to see me in the evening, not African, he said, oh, I think you love it. I said, I don't love it. He said, what can we do? When the wife saw my face, got the message. In fact, it seemed the wife was embarrassed. If you see the contrast between the first place and the second place, don't you think I deserve this? And God said, step into that space where creatives are concerned and help heal. Love them. So if that is a major part of my takeover agenda for now, I'm fine. If that means that will reduce the number of places I preach in a year, I'm fine. Because I just want to be able to stand before Jesus and say, I did what you asked me to do when I turned 50. Because that's one of the things he told me. He said, now that you're 50, I need you in some areas. okay. Was it strange to me? It was strange. But since he was... Now listen, there's a major meeting I'm supposed to be going for in Philippines every year. I've not been there for 5 years. They are frustrated. The reason I've not been back is because of the assignment like this. It's not like I don't have places to preach. But I'm like, I would rather do what he wants me to do than do what is interesting. If he wants me to be in the boardroom, I'm fine. Because the same God that will send a Philip to Samaria to preach to the whole city and turn the whole city around, we send him to one Ethiopia Enoch. I said, this is the next assignment. Then the last time you were talking to a city. This time around, I just need you to talk to what? One person. The question is, will you be fine with that? Because takeover does not necessarily mean your name will be so big. Takeover will be, you will be the next Mordecai. You'll be the one ushering the Esther to the palace. But you will not enter the palace. But rather you will be at the gates, interceding for the person in the palace. In fact, they will be rude to you at the gate. You won't mind. You will do something good for the king at the gate. Nobody will remember it. But you can't be bothered because you know your assignment. My assignment is to be at the gate, interceding. Because if I'm not there, Esther will mess up in the palace. Esther needs me. I'm just fine with your assignment for me. That which every part supplies. Not every part of the body can be the eye. Not every part of the body can be the nose. Not every part of the body can be the legs. Some parts are just so tiny. Spleen, kidney. But guess what? Every part matters. You matter. Take over. Let them have dominion. Did you get the message tonight? God is raising us more than ever to come to a place of understanding of his purpose for our lives. His mandate upon us. So when we're praying, we're not just praying to have things. We're praying to know his will for our life. Lord, what will you have me do? Because if you pray to have things, but you don't know the purpose of the things you have, you will abuse the things. In fact, the things might kill you. If fame is what makes people, the amount of suicides we have in Hollywood every year, and the music industry every year should not be so. Do you know literally every year celebrities kill themselves? Because with all the fame, you don't even know the struggles they go through. Now that I'm in that space, do you know the kind of adrenaline flow that happens after you have just performed? That's why they need to be high. And there are Christian artists that go high too. You need to minister to them. And please don't judge them. You don't know what they are dealing with. Because a lot go into creating that. In fact, should I be real? You'll be shocked that a lot of ministers that were caught in the act of adultery, they committed it shortly after they just ministered. The person that just flowed in the Holy Ghost, the spirit was flowing. But the soul, there are certain chemicals that get released in the process. That if God does not help you, you can get into trouble. You can lose control. I know it might seem as if I'm everywhere touching different things tonight. But every one of us has a place. The Esther needs some Mordecai standing at the gate. Because if there's no Mordecai, Esther will misbehave. Are you listening to me? Yes, sir. Look at David with such a great resume. But look at the flaws he had to deal with. How could a man who will write all those psalms now stand at the balcony and start meditating on the wife of another, to the point that he plotted? The same man that wrote, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." That man now folded his arms on the balcony and meditated on what? Is it Bathsheba? So much that he came up with a plan to murder her husband just to have her. And that tells you just that you are anointed. It's not enough. There are highs and lows. There are people that need to hold the hand of Moses. Take over. Lift up your hands unto heaven. Lord, I pray tonight for everyone under the sound of my voice that will come to a realization of the purpose and the plan of God for our lives. That will not waste the opportunities that you have given us, but will be conscious of your will for our lives and do that you have called us to do. In the name of Jesus. Wave those hands to him all over this house. Are you ready for the doctrine of Christ tomorrow? Because we're going to go deep into the doctrine. How many of you are excited about the doctrine? Are you charged up tonight? Because the journey is long. You must eat. Somebody say eat, for the journey is long. Come on, say long. Say eat, for the journey is long. Eat. Take over, man. Let them have dominion. So whether your dominion is attached to wearing a suit on Sunday morning, have dominion. Whether your dominion is being behind the camera, have. If your dominion is to be behind the keyboard like my amazing brother and play some keys, I wish I can. I wish I tried it. I crammed some keys. I can play like 2 songs, hopefully, because I crammed it about 6 years ago. I was with Waleoni 2 weeks ago, and when he was like, okay, have dominion. That's your place. Have dominion. Not everybody can hold the microphone like I'm holding. Not everybody can even travel to nations like I do travel. Not everybody is called to plant churches in different nations, in different cities like I am. But you know what you are called to do. And be okay with it. And be part of that army. And fulfill your role. And you know, when we stand before him, you will not have less reward than me. You will be judged based on your assignments. Not based on how your assignment was assessed by men, but how faithful you are to your assignment. If your assignment is to pray for your pastor in secret, without even telling him, you know, there's a way you tell her, we are praying for you. I do it too. I still send a message to my friend today. What you? I say, Kosani Wabek, I'm praying and studying faith. Why do you have to announce it? We human beings are very funny. Why can't I just pray for him and not tell him? Because I felt like he would be encouraged. And he was encouraged. He sent me, say, oh, thank you, my brother. But there are times you don't even need to say it. Just pray. Say, Pastor, if not for a prayer, you would have fallen. The other day, God showed me you were this close to falling. But I prayed for you. I prayed for you. So that you would be what? Rescued. God bless you. But did you get the point tonight? Just play your role.